So, I think I was reading this essay by Orwell. It was a short essay made back in 1944. And I think it's pretty relevant today because it's like, what is fascism? What is a fascist? And basically, you can basically call anyone a fascist, and you could be correct to some degree. But ultimately, a fascist is someone who is like a bully, at least uh, in terms of the political spectrum. In the economic spectrum, that's up in the air. You have fascist countries that are, like Nazi Germany. You have fascist countries that, weren't like Nazi Germany. Um, and ultimately, what I found from it is everyone can kind of agree that a fascist is a bully. John, what are your thoughts?
I mean, that's always been what was taught in government classes. I
Yeah,
think what Orwell describes is uh, less like an ideology and more like a strategy. It's a political strategy for dominance, and
yeah,
like every time it played out, it's just it almost sounds like it could be just like you could say woke culture is fascist.
yeah. And you
It
can
is
easily,
actually. I mean,
yeah,
based on these definitions, to bully, to make someone believe, to just push an agenda.
essentially an authoritarian.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, those are all terms that just are in the same bowl.
yeah. You can basically call almost anyone a fascist.
Yeah.
There's real no meaning behind the word. Although I suspect many people will say they aren't fascists. You could even say they're anti-fascists.
Yeah, but see, now you're taking an abstract idea and opposing it. So now you have to be equally as abstract. And now you're not even, you can't even challenge each other at that point. So that just, like, how can you be anti something when something is so, like, just jumbled, so incoherent? Like, nobody, anti fascist, anti what? So what do you not like?
Anti-authoritarian.
No, I know, but I
Anti-bully.
guess I'm just pointing out the idea that it doesn't make any sense. I don't need you to try to clarify me what they're saying. It's just like, I don't know. Everything just sounds so counterintuitive. It just sounds like anytime you try to go against that, you're gonna end up falling into the same trap. It was like what we were talking about a couple of podcasts ago when we were talking. I think we were talking about it on the podcast, talking about the Allies' objective for denazification of Germany after the
Oh
war.
yeah, yeah. We
And
we
a
did talk.
lot of the policies and strategies that they implemented had them doing the same thing that the Nazis were doing, burning books, controlling thought, controlling media, like things like that.
Yeah,
And it's like, yeah, okay, ultimately it's for a good cause, but you're going to be, the means are always going to stay the same. I mean, so like your end goal is probably going to just morph and it can be kind of malleable to the way. Like you're trying to get rid of Nazis. Okay, that's a noble cause, but you're doing it by using the same strategies as the Nazis. Then what becomes your all of a sudden your goal is evaporated. It's no longer a thing because you've just contradicted it.
yeah,
So it's like it's almost like getting yourself. Anytime you try to deal with fascism or try to explain it or fight it or like argue against it, it just you always end up sticking your fingers in a Chinese finger trap, and it's difficult to differentiate what's going on.
well, I kind of disagree because I think you can argue against it, but once you take big, huge action, like uh, like something big,
Mm-hmm.
like burn. You mentioned burning books or something like that. Yeah, then you can argue that yeah, you're being kind of a fascist doing that. But I think it's fair to say, like, yeah, you can argue against fascism. You can go and
Okay.
say, yeah, this is not good. This is
Yeah,
bad.
I think what I
You're
mean
you're
is
not controlling anyone to you're not controlling anyone. You're just giving your opinion, saying like, hey, I think this is bad, and I don't think we should do it.
I think what I meant was the strategies that people usually, employ become the problem.
Yeah,
I do think that there's ways to combat it. I think a free press is a great way. Uh, Honest information uh, is a good way. Non-monopolized media is a great way to keep that from happening. Basically, I think what you're finding out is that, like, I don't know. I mean, like, it's just like fascism just can't be it is this just thing it's like a hat you put on when the time comes for it, because it's like you can't really be fascist if you don't have, you can only become fascist when you have some power already. You
yeah,
can't be like a fascist without power, you know what I mean?
yeah. I mean, you look at Mussolini, and he basically just off someone, and he had some power. He offed someone. He went like, yeah, I offed him, and from there he gained like so much power. You have to have at least a little bit of power to to you know
To maximize it and to stretch it to the extent that fascism will go.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. So it's just interesting. It's just really interesting.
it is. And I think it's kind of interesting how there really is no real definition for fascism in terms of political sense and economic sense. The best you can give is, someone who's authoritarian.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just think that it's a political strategy to bully and intimidate. It would be the simplest definition.
Yeah.
By means of control, for means of control.
Yeah.
All right, that's pretty good.
Bam.
Look at that. We could submit that to Merriam-Webster.
I wonder what Merriam-Webster's definition of
I could
fascism
pull it
is.
up. Merriam-Webster. I pay for the subscription so I don't get ads.
Wow. What a cuck.
I hate ads on that shit. It's so annoying because you'll click a word and then like an ad will come up and you can't get rid of it for 15 seconds. And then by that time, my like desire to be enchanted by the meaning of a word goes away. And it's very annoying.
Do you have like a Wi-Fi, like a router or something, a gateway in hand?
Oh, they're trying to find other ways to make me pay. I look up fascist and they go, this word is not in Merriam-Webster's collegiate dictionary. To access the definition for this word and many others, purchase a yearly subscription to Merriam-Webster, $5.99 a year. I don't
Wow,
want to pay that.
John. You
That's not how much.
see,
It's
you see,
99
everything
cents.
is behind a damn paywall these
It's
days.
$1 a year. Dude, stop. I don't know. Fuck Merriam-Webster. That's bullshit. That is some bullshit, you know?
John, I can't help but agree.
That is such bullshit. You want to know the meaning of these words? Nope. Fuck off.
Fuck
Don't know
off.
what that means?
Pay,
Pay us
pay us
up.
some money.
Go
Pay
fuck
up.
yourself. Yeah,
Uzaki-chan wants all your
but
money.
they, Merriam-Webster on their website, which apparently you don't have to pay there, they define it as a political philosophy, movement, or regime, such as that of the fascisti, that exalts nation and often race above the individual, and that stands for a centralized autocratic government headed by a dictatorial leader. Severe economic and social regimentation and forcible suppression of opposition. That's a really messy
It is
definition.
pretty messy.
I think our
Because,
definition's way better than that.
yeah. Oh,
Because a
shit.
lot of that, I feel like a lot of this is getting jumbled up with nationalism
Yeah.
and populism,
Yeah.
which are words that aren't necessarily good or bad. It just depends on what kind.
Yeah, I certainly agree.
I don't know. This is just really interesting that they would define it that way. That's interesting.
Yeah, because I remember I was watching Peaky Blinders season 5, and they got this fascist guy from England in there, and I was like, and they kind of fucked up the entire timeline, and I'm kind of pissed off about that, but
Mm.
that's another point. Um, I I was like, well, shit. What's the difference between fascism and communism?
Mm.
And I could never find a real definition. Apparently, they made this book called the um, Fascist Manifesto.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at the book, the points of the book, and you look at points of like fascist Italy or Nazi Germany, like they don't exactly match up because there are points of disconnect.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you can also say that with the Soviet Union and the Communist Manifesto,
Mm-hmm.
where there's just points that don't match up.
I hear you. I think what's interesting is there's this Britannica has a little thing on fascism, kind of giving some background, and they talk about some of the characteristics. Is extreme militaristic nationalism, which is a specific type of nationalism that I would say is, yeah, that's pretty. I would say that's pretty fascist. But
Yeah.
these ones interest me. Contempt for electoral democracy and political and cultural liberalism, and a belief in natural social hierarchy and the rule of elites. Now, isn't that what our government believes in? They don't care about electoral democracy. I mean, when you think about it, like vote tallies were getting screwed with in 2016, and everybody just rolled over about it. They keep things quiet. Like actual liberalism always gets shunned away for corporate liberalism,
Yeah.
and the belief in a social hierarchy and the rule of elites. That's the structure of every Western country. I don't know. I
I
don't
don't know
know.
either.
Everything starts to sound fascist.
Exactly. And I think that's the point that Orwell was uh, bringing up in his book or his essay, where it's like you could basically point out fascism everywhere. And does that make everybody fascist? Who knows?